Yo, what's happening everyone? It's me, it's Count, here with an all-new Pokemon GO video. Today I wanted to talk about this Detective Pikachu event that's currently ongoing. And interestingly enough, there's a lot of people who are split regarding this event. So I'm going to be talking about that here. And if you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if it's your first time here. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'm super stoked about the movie Detective Pikachu. I'm going to be seeing it tomorrow, and quite honestly, there's just a lot of people who are very positive about the movie, and I'm really fine with that. But when it comes to the cross-promotional event that's happening in Pokemon GO, a lot of people are a bit disappointed. Now, in my opinion, I think this Detective Pikachu event in Pokemon GO is fine. I like the experience bonus. This is definitely a step up from a lot of the other events that we've had this year. And of course we do have a new shiny, which is Apom, and there's a lot of hype surrounding that. But there's also a whole bunch of other Pokemon that are spawning that have shinies, and I'm completely fine with that. I think for a lot of people who are interested in shinies, this is the perfect event for you, mainly because there's shiny Psyduck, there's shiny Bulbasaur, shiny Pikachu. I believe Pikachu is spawning in some places in the world, although I haven't really seen a detective have Pikachu. I'll get more into that later. But overall, this event is not that disappointing compared to a lot of the other events that we've had. So why are players disappointed? Well, I think what it comes down to is just expectations that were not met. Of course, this event was kind of teased for a while now. I think a lot of people suspected that there would be a Detective Pikachu event in Pokemon GO, but a lot of players were thinking that there would be a lot of things from the Pokemon Detective Pikachu movie that would be implemented into the game, and unfortunately that's just not the case. And some of the things that they did implement from the movie, they just didn't implement it in the way that players expected them to implement it. For example, Detective Pikachu himself is actually in the game, but a lot of players were hoping that it would be in the wild, in mass. But unfortunately, the only way to get this Pokemon is through the Go Snapshot feature, which not a lot of players are interested in, unfortunately. So for people who really want this Pokemon, unfortunately, they can't just go out and collect it in mass. I know a couple of people who really wanted a bunch of these so that they could trade them for Luckies, and unfortunately, they are not going to be able to do so because as of right now, with the Go Snapshot feature, you will likely get a total of 10 as long as you get 10 photo bombs throughout the 10 days of this event. So yeah. And the big disappointment is actually around raid battles, because of course right now the legendary raid boss that's currently in the game is Azelf. He's the one that you can get through raid battles, but a lot of people were thinking that Mewtwo would actually make an appearance, mainly because he is very prevalent in the trailer and supposedly very prevalent in the movie. So a lot of players were thinking that Mewtwo would be in the raid battles, and unfortunately he's not, and that's left a lot of people disappointed. I actually thought Mewtwo would be in raid battles for this event, and I was horribly wrong. But honestly, we've had a lot of Mewtwo, and Mewtwo is one of those Pokemon that I would like to keep rare, mainly because it is a very special Pokemon when it comes to the Pokemon franchise and its fan base. So honestly, I'm okay with them not rolling out Mewtwo for this event because, I mean, I just don't want Mewtwo to be that Pokemon that is constantly rolled out every time they need a special Pokemon in raid battles, right? So I like the fact that Mewtwo is not in raid battles, and for a lot of people who are disappointed about Mewtwo, I mean, you just gotta have to think about it from that perspective, right? After all, he was the very first EX raid boss that we've had, and yes, of course, I understand that Shadow Ball Mewtwo is definitely still super rare, whereas the regular Mewtwo is not, but let's be real here, Mewtwo is one of the most popular Pokemon in Pokemon, the franchise, and it would be disappointing if Mewtwo was just something that was available to everyone on a constant basis. I like the fact that Mewtwo is not released frequently, and it really builds up the hype of shiny Mewtwo once that's eventually released, and I really hope they just nail that, and make a really special event just for that. Who knows? And of course, a lot of people are also super disappointed about the fact that we can't get shiny Detective Pikachu, because this particular Pikachu is a Pikachu that we may not see come back to Pokemon Go in a while, mainly because it's a little bit more niche. It's a little bit more specific to this movie, right? So unless they do another event related to Detective Pikachu, like, we won't see the Detective Pikachu variant of Pikachu in Pokemon Go for a long time. So of course, while the iron is hot, people wanted to get that shiny. And unfortunately, Niantic decided not to release the shiny of Detective Pikachu, so a lot of players are really disappointed about that. I think the other big frustration that a lot of players have is with Apom in general. Apom, of course, is extremely difficult to catch, and a lot of players do not like the fact that right before Blaziken Community Day, they're eating up through all of their Great Balls and Ultra Balls just to catch a bunch of these Pokemon. And my suggestion for that is don't be afraid to just run away from Apom. Just shiny check it, and if it's shiny, great, catch it. If it's not, just skip it and go catch Psyducks and all of the other Pokemon that are spawning, because those you can mass evolve for a lot more experience. You could really utilize this event to catch up on leveling and to boost your experience for world rankings, different things like that. This event is actually pretty decent, I'm telling you. Now, I really want to talk about this event disappointment because, like I said, I really like this event, and I actually think it's definitely a better event compared to some of the events we've had in the past. But it just seems like players are consistently going to be unhappy with anything Niantic announces. The hype train is definitely something that hasn't been rolling along as frequently as it was last year. And I really wonder if it's because we as players have been really spoiled with events in the past, with the frequency of events in the past, and there's just this expectation that Niantic has to constantly one-up themselves with each event. I really don't know if that is healthy for the game, mainly because it's not something that's sustainable, but this seems to be the general consensus among the community that Niantic, unless they come up with some crazy event with 5 times Stardust or something, like, people are always going to be disappointed. And certainly I can understand that. A lot of players just really look forward to these events. They look forward to all the new shinies that come out, and they want something new and interesting every time. And of course, without these events, the game would essentially be really stale because there is not too many features that they could essentially add at this point. We've had PvP, we even have this Go Snapshot feature, and we have a whole bunch of stuff that's already in the game. The game is essentially feature complete at this point, so we really don't know what else Niantic could add to Pokemon Go in terms of a gameplay standpoint. So of course, it's these events that are going to keep the game fresh. And of course, for a lot of players who really look forward to these events, they have their own expectations for how they should pan out. And of course, they won't always pan out the way players want, and that ultimately leads to disappointment. So yeah, I really want to highlight this idea that players are feeling a little bit more entitled when it comes to events. And like I said, I can understand why players would feel that way because Niantic has just constantly churned out events over time. And yes, last year in 2018, they just went overboard and just had a new event every week, and they were one-upping themselves with each event. Each event that came out in 2018 was significantly better or even slightly better than the event that preceded it. And a lot of players are expecting that for 2019. But it's very clear that Niantic is recognizing that trying to do that constantly is not sustainable, because eventually we're going to get to a point where we're just going to have events that cannot be usurped by the event before it. There's going to be events that are just crazy good, and unfortunately there's just always going to be a disappointment. Maybe we're already there, who knows, but I think Niantic is pumping the brakes a little bit when it comes to these events, simply because they know they can't constantly one-up these events. So yeah, we as players just have to kind of roll with it, in my opinion. I mean, every event is going to be either really good or kind of disappointing, but they're still in-game events and they're still keeping the game fresh. So I really feel like we as players should just take every opportunity to enjoy the game for what it is and not expect so much from Niantic constantly, because they're doing really hard work. They are planning for 3 Pokemon Go Fests, for crying out loud. They still have a whole bunch of Safari Zones that they gotta plan for. And of course, the think tank over at Niantic is busy trying to figure out new and interesting things to add to Pokemon Go. So you can understand that they're not going to be thinking about how to make the next event that much better, compared to the one before it. I think they're focusing on different things this year, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, I don't know. We've had a lot of events in the past that have been really disappointing, and I'm not saying we should just use that as an excuse to say that this event is not disappointing. I just feel like for what this event is, it's actually a pretty decent event. And honestly, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of times where players are going to just want the best of the best with each event, right? And I can understand that. Each event needs to feel fresh and it needs to be interesting, but I actually don't think that's necessarily important with these events. I just like the fact that they're releasing shinies, one shiny at a time essentially with each event, and we're getting to a point where there's just so many shinies in the game and it's just always going to be fresh anyway. But I don't know. I just honestly think this event is okay. It's not necessarily a big problem. For what it's worth, Niantic is doing a really good job improving the game. Of course, we just recently got the dodge glitch bug that's just been removed. Of course, it did add a couple more bugs in raid battles, but I honestly like the fact that Niantic is constantly trying to improve the game. They're not just relying on these events to keep the game fresh. They want to continue iterating on the game, and I'm excited to see what they eventually end up adding into Pokemon GO, because I honestly think there's a lot that could go into Pokemon GO. We just don't know. We just can't really figure it out. But yeah. By the way, Niantic, I really want bottle caps in the game. If you can come up with a way to introduce bottle caps into the game that's really fresh and innovating, I would be one really happy dude. So yeah, I would love to know your thoughts regarding all of this. Are you disappointed about the Detective Pikachu event? Are you excited for the movie? Have you seen the movie? I mean, obviously, let's try to avoid spoilers. Yeah, I plan to do a review of this movie eventually, maybe it's like next Monday is what I'm thinking. I tend to take the weekends off when it comes to YouTubing just so I can enjoy the game and, you know, hang out with the community and my family and different things like that. But yeah, I would still like to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about the movie, what you think about this event. Are you disappointed by this event? Do you agree with me that it's not as disappointing as players are making it out to be? And who knows, maybe I'm completely wrong and I'm gauging the community a little bit incorrectly. Maybe the community is okay with this event. It's just the vocal minority that's just giving me this perception that a lot of people are disappointed by it. I don't know, because I personally love this event and I know a lot of people who do as well. So I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but let me know in the comment section below what you think about this event. And if you ended up enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel a lot. And if it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button as well. And don't forget that little bell. I am Count Jinsula, and I'll catch you all later.